This is the Global Broadcasting Service, serving remote outposts since 1928.
Hi, everyone. Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail.
Caramba, we have something really big for you today.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
This is the DBC Pod with Phil Schoen and Jason Dodge. Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Pod. This is a show for the week of October 30th and November 6th, 2023. So, Phil, we had, as everybody notices, not a show last week. And Phil, I think that was my fault for not communicating properly when we were recording. All this week, I've been gone on business. I think I drove 8 straight hours coming home on Thursday. I'm catching up today. And if I sound tired during the show, it's because I'm completely exhausted. But fortunately for everybody out there that's listening and enjoys listening to our show, Phil and I communicated properly this week.
Yes.
And now we're recording on a Saturday because it's Phil's turn to travel for business.
Yeah.
So the show is coming out. You won't even know that unless I didn't say anything that we're recording on a Saturday. Anyway, so we apologize for the skip in the show last week. That was unforeseen. I think that's like our third missed show in almost 4 years. So that hopefully that won't happen again. And in any case, it is now the holiday season, which means Halloween just ended. And now everybody's getting ready for the holidays, especially Walt Disney World.
Absolutely.
Soaring over Main Street, the Christmas tree is in full effect. Phil, my question to you is, how fast do they fix that?
I don't know. That's an interesting one. I don't know.
For those that don't know, that haven't noticed, if you've gone in any of the major Disney news websites, they have pictures of the Main Street Christmas tree, and it's kind of arcing just a little bit at the top, kind of like the Eiffel Tower in Soarin', and it's kind of funny. So I think they just have to like tighten two of them.
Probably, yeah, because they have wires on it, so maybe one side's not as tight, like you said. But yeah, they were in full effect, and I know they always do the Magic Kingdom quickly, but I noticed it seemed like they're even earlier this year with like the gingerbread houses. They were starting them before Halloween and stuff like that. I don't know. They're really like, I don't know. I guess they really want to get that holiday tourists down there and get the holidays going and cranking, and hopefully visitation up a bit.
Yep. So we celebrate Christmas in our household, and we're big decorators for Christmas. Or at least I am. And typically, I have a strict rule in my house: no Christmas until dessert time at Thanksgiving. That's the first time you're allowed to listen to Christmas carols, and then that weekend it's just like all the stuff comes up. Right. You get a Christmas tree, and so it's full in effect. But last year, because we went to Disney at Christmas time, we started slowly decorating, probably like midway through November, a week or two before Thanksgiving. Lights outside, maybe some like ribbons and wreaths around the house, but nothing like uber Christmas until the week of Thanksgiving. Then we had it fully decorated. We are going again in December, as you've been following along my trials and tribulations of scheduling everything. And I'm asking myself again, do I decorate early? So my question to you, Phil, is I need some advice. When do you typically decorate for Halloween, and when do you make that shift over the holidays? Do you keep like my wife wants to keep like the fall stuff. Like she's the pumpkin spice latte Starbucks person. She likes the oranges and the gourds and stuff like that. When do you make that switch?
So normally we kind of did what you did, where Halloween, I just took down the outside decorations today, but, my wife was like, do we have some just generic fall things we could put up? And we have a few things and that sort of thing. And growing up, our rule was kind of similar to yours. My mom had the rule, until you see Santa Claus in the Macy's Day Parade on Thanksgiving, that was the sign of Christmas starting. I've started putting them up earlier too, sometimes I'm just dependent on the weather. If we get like a nice weekend mid-November, I'm like, well, let's take advantage of it and put the lights up outside and stuff. And also just to extend the holiday a little bit more. We also do celebrate Christmas in our house, and our street is pretty big for all the holidays. Halloween's the biggest one, but they do a lot for Christmas too. So we get into it. But so we'll see when we get into it. I don't know. It's weird. I had like a couple years where I was kind of like, I don't even want to decorate. And then like last year I got back.
That was like 2 years ago. You're like, I don't even know if we're going to have a Christmas tree this year.
Yeah. And then we finally, I broke down and I was like, well, if we're going to do like a fake tree, I'm going the fakest tree possible. I got like this silver tree, and like, I remember that picture. So I've been kind of enjoying that. So I don't know. We'll see what we do this year, but Yeah, we'll see. We'll try to have probably a couple weeks of pumpkin spice latte season, and then go from there.
Well, I mean, like I'm looking, and just to kind of tie us back to Disney. I mean, I'm looking at all the great shots. Like I think it was WDW Magic that had some really excellent photography of like Main Street, like good angles, good focusing, everything else like that. And I'm like starting to feel the mood because again, our trip is starting to feel more and more real. I think as of today, it's like 42 and 43 days away, 43 days to check in, 42 days to we start driving type of thing. And it's feeling a little bit more real. Kind of, I'll give you an update a little bit later. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm feeling that. I think I want to celebrate a little earlier, kind of get off of my like, my sister puts up like her Christmas tree like the morning after Halloween. I mean, like if she could decorate, she could put a Christmas tree up in like September 1st, like right after Labor Day, she would, right?
Yeah.
So I think I'm getting lax. I think my wife might yell at me for putting that stuff up. So happy to all the early holiday season celebrators. I guess Thanksgiving's part of the holidays, right? It's like the last sprint to the end of the year. So in any case, if you're decorating, tell us on social media or in Discord when you start decorating. I know we've got some pictures or tales of it already on Discord. So, but more importantly, one of the things that I've been looking forward to in my coming trip is the new fireworks show, LUMINOUS. And Phil, I know you're an EPCOT guy. You're super stoked. This came out, I was like almost off the internet for like a whole week. And I was back in my hotel room and Phil's like typing out like songs and stuff. I'm like, what is this? And I'm like, boom, it's a luminous little thing. So why don't you educate me? Because I don't know where you got all those song names and stuff like that. So what's going on? We're getting a little preview.
Yeah, so it was actually kind of funny if we had done the show last as regularly scheduled, I had put in our topic just thinking about like what types of songs would you want to hear in Luminous, because people are starting to get a little antsy about it. And then like 2 days later, Disney puts out a big, kind of a pretty big write-up about the show. And they even have a video clip of it with some of the songs that are going to be in it, some of the singers and stuff like that. And they really kind of walk you through sort of the flow of the show. And I understand there are supposed to be, as you said, we're recording this on Saturday, supposed to be firework testing done tonight. So if you're in the area, you might see some of that. But it was, they kind of went into the details about kind of what are going to be the original songs. And then also which of the Disney, from the Disney songbook, I guess they said, which are going to be new arrangements of those songs. So it's not going to be straight, it's not going to be like Happily Ever After, where they're basically cut from the movies. These are going to be new arrangements of those songs.
So I think a couple days ago, or maybe it was yesterday, I lost track of time, there was some spotlight testing, like in the sky. I thought that was pretty cool. Some of the pictures that we saw. But overall, I mean, like I don't know what to think of the music. To me, it's Disney orchestra kind of, I don't know what the words are. It's inspiring music, whatever. Yep. I mean, they do a good job with the instrumentals. But you are the EPCOT guy, right? And I'm just the novice. I'm your Padawan, come lately EPCOT enjoyer over here. So I think your opinion is much more important than me. So sure. What did you think of like just the couple little hints and flavor that?
Yeah. So I have to say, I really like the concept they put forward and the start of it, like that instrumental that they said. So for people who haven't read the article, when they're talking about the songs, they say the show will start. You'll hear voices from each of the World Showcase pavilions welcoming guests, which I think is kind of a cool concept.
Oh, well, let's stop there because I kind of want to talk about this because this is the one thing that stood out for me. Right, you got this huge canvas in which to paint this show. The most boring way to do it is just put a bunch of fireworks in the water and have a fireworks show, right? I mean, that's simple, whatever. You've got all these pavilions around, and like, why not use all of this so the show is truly like, yes, you're watching the lagoon, but you've got everything behind you, like a full 360 vision. Because if you're watching it from like Mexico, you could be staring at France and seeing stuff going off over there and then behind you. So do you think this is like a hint that they're going to use more of the World Showcase, or is it just going to be like sounds and some lights and then that's it?
I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll see overall. We do know they're building quite a bit of infrastructure that will be moving in and out. So I'm sure they want to use that. So that's going to be the bulk of it. But it does seem like they want to reference where they are. They are in World Showcase. And so they want to have, that was one of the elements of Harmonious that I did like, was that it had like the different languages from different, it kind of felt like it was part of World Showcase. And I guess that's how they're going to do it with this.
So, I mean, Disney's been incredibly tight-lipped about the show until, this little video, right? So the only thing we've seen are the barges being constructed behind and backstage by by Reconstruct, kind of taking pictures from an eagle's eye point of view. They've been doing a lot of testing. There's some like scrims and stuff like that are kind of being hung up to hide some of the elements. They just had all 6 barges out there for the first time. They've been testing them, and we don't even know what they're doing. People are speculating, okay, this comes out. What's going on in the center ring? Is there a center barge that they haven't seen? And I would think that we would have figured out if they were going to do any projection mapping on any of the buildings. So that hasn't been a thing, right? So we don't see anything like that. But you never know if they might pull out some stops at the end. I very much doubt that we're going to get more complicated than the giant machinery that's being built right now, right? But I think it would be really cool.
So going back to the songs, they said, so after the welcome, they said there'll be a tap of a conductor's baton, and the first movement begins with the original song, Heartbeat Symphony. And I believe that's the one that was more of the instrumental that I really liked. That felt very EPCOT. That felt very like back to Illuminations and stuff like that. I think that fit
like
very
a soaring kind of musical. And there was that glimpse of like, or not glimpse, the little hint of like I think somebody said like the THX kind of like orchestra, the vocals kind of all kind of harmonizing together.
Right.
That might be a cool thing to kind of do like part of the show where it's in tandem with lights kind of coming on and stuff like that. I kind of like that detail as well.
And then it mentions then there'll be mostly the Disney songs in the middle, and then the finale, which is another original song, which actually I don't think we knew. We knew there was going to be like an original song, but there's actually going to be 2. This one's called Beating of Our Hearts, which the idea is around is when we're all come together as one and find our place in the great symphony of life. And I believe that's the one where they show the clip of Sheila, I believe is her name, is the performer and singer-songwriter who is performing that song. Also noted, we didn't see her in the clip, but you might remember her from, I think it was American Idol or whatever, Catherine McPhee, who's been on Broadway and stuff like that. She's also going to be featured in the show. So that song, I need to see the finished product. The clip I saw, I wasn't as into. It felt a little more kind of poppy, not as Epcot-y to me, but I'm going to wait and see for final judgment. But I was more excited about the first song than the second song.
Yeah, I mean we're talking about the one with the lady that was singing the Symphony of Us. Is that the one that we're talking about?
The Beating of Our Hearts, I think. Yeah, but it's Symphony of Us was the lines in it. Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah.
And I mean, like to me, there's plenty of people being overly critical about this for like 10-second clip of like a whole show, which is
for sure
stupid. So, but like when I hear that, I just hope that's like the interlude or something else that's starting up, and it's not the crescendo of the song, obviously.
Sure.
Because you want something that's going to fill your heart with like joy and togetherness and wonder because you're at Epcot, right? So I hope there's some, and I can't imagine that it's going to end kind of quiet and kind of, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, like poppy or what have you. So I'm confident. You said there's a lot of Disney songs in between, and I'm staring at a list of them. I don't know if you want to go over them, but
I could list them quick if you want.
Yeah, let's do that because I want to ask you a question about them.
Okay.
Do you think the songs that we're seeing represent something? Are they telling a story like what they've told? Like, are they representing each of the showcases, or is it just a random string of songs, or is how do you think that's going to play into it?
So the way they describe the flow of the show is it goes through sort of like the human journey that you have from birth through like death. So it kind of had like, it talks about the different types of relationships you have, like kind of the parental relationship, and then sort of talks about like friendship, and then romantic, and then sort of like looking back and reflective on your life and stuff like that. So it seems like they pick songs that fit that theme more than specifically fit Epcot or fit the different countries.
So why do you think they're picking like the cycle of life type of thing? If anything, that would be like an Animal Kingdom type of thing, right? Because it's all animals. But I mean, this is cycle of life of a human, right? It's a human thing. But like to me, Epcot's about exploration and discovery and culture. How do you think are they going to tie in that type of message compared to some of their other shows? So
I think
you're
it's
the expert, so how does it work?
The messaging I got, it was sort of similar to Harmonious, with the idea of like we're more similar than we are different, and kind of what unites us. In that case, it was music kind of uniting us. I think this is just about how kind of the key to life and kind of going through life is the different relationships you have with others. And I think that's kind of that. Connections there's like Connections Cafe and stuff like that. I think that's kind of a theme they're weaving into Epcot. So I kind of got that sense of it.
I mean, like everybody has every culture has relationships, friendships, childhood, marriage, life and death, and generations of family and stuff like that. So I think maybe that could be kind of like a unifying, because there's got to be a unifying theme, right?
I mean, that's definitely one thing that, and even some people that were maybe not as excited for the show did kind of feel like that what they're putting out there is something everybody goes through, right? Like everybody, they're not always positive, but everybody has relationships with their parents or their kids or friends, or like everybody has that. And so it definitely felt like a story everybody, no matter what culture you're from, can identify with it. So I think that's a good aspect to it.
The one thing I'm kind of worried about is, you're ending this string of Disney songs with "Remember Me," "Into the Unknown," and "I See the Light." Like, I mean, without knowing what those songs are, I mean, like, to me, that's, we're celebrating a life, but it's also kind of like, you're going into the light. You're dead, right? You're going into the after. I mean, like, to me, it's like, do we need that level of sadness after a whole thing? Like, I'm concerned that, like, you're sad and you're remembering loved ones that are no longer with us, that type of thing. Like, do we want to end the night at Epcot with that kind of message? I just hope whatever that closing song is.
I was going to say, maybe that's why the closing song sounds a little poppy, because they got to bring everybody back up.
That was heavy. Yeah. So I hope you don't, like, I mean, it's a wonderful message, right? And it's something, but like, you're celebrating the day at the park. I just hope they don't bring everybody down. But like, so they're because there's going to be like a family that's coming down to Disney because they're celebrating, like, the life of maybe a lost grandparent, or it's the first time down since the, something unfortunate happened. I just hope that doesn't like ruin somebody's time. I hope it's more of a happy, and I have to imagine.
I'm sure they're gonna
do it, but like,
they've done this before. They know how to how to end it on a happy note. But
I really hope so. I really hope so, because that's the only thing that has me concerned. But I love the message, right? I mean, it's up as a fan favorite, and this is basically kind of that story, right? It's the celebration of life.
Yep.
So I think that's really, I'm really looking forward to it. Now, since you don't know when your next trip is to Epcot,
right?
Obviously you're going to watch this online somewhere, right?
Yeah.
I have the option because I will be seeing it. It's almost a month from tomorrow, right? Tomorrow's the 5th.
Starts the 5th.
So, what would you do if you were in my case? Would you watch it online and then watch it live, or were you go in blind?
So I would probably do, and I think this is what I did with, whether it was in Happily Ever After. One of them I did was I watched like clips, but not the whole show, because I couldn't like help myself watching a little bit, and at least so I could like kind of participate a little in the discussion and stuff like that. But I usually do that with rides as well. Like, I'll try to watch clips. I get kind of the storyline, kind of know what I'm going in, but won't watch full ride throughs or whatever. So I probably would do the same. I would try to avoid watching like the entire show.
Yeah, I think that I don't think I'm going to be able to avoid watching the show online. I think I'm just going to watch, because like, you can get a sense of how good a show is by watching it. It's a purely visual thing. Whereas rides, to me, I like to go in blind because it's an experience thing, right? It's a physical and visual thing when you're on a ride. So I think I might, if I could find a good recording of it, if Disney does like a Disney Plus thing, or somebody with a good 4K camera that it's not like some live stream that's all janky kind of doing that. I don't know if I want to watch that, but I don't know if I can also
I know
people
it's hard.
like, I'm going to be so tempted to do it, I'm probably going to end up doing it anyway. So some other news that I don't even know where this came from. So moving on to next year, we know that there's some Plus changes coming to Genie Plus, Phil, and you posted something. Like, I was in the middle of a warehouse. I was working on some equipment, and I'm, it was down, and we had some time, and I'm going through Discord. I'm scrolling, and she's like, Len Testa said this, and it's just like, whoa. And then I finally found your post on WD Magic, and it's about what he thinks Genie Plus is going to be next year. So why don't you fill it in with, I guess, do we classify this as a rumor or a hint?
I would say this is a educated rumor or something like that. I mean, this is what Len Testa is hearing. For those of you who don't know who Len Testa, he runs touring plans, so he's obviously clued in and tapped in with everything. They have a lot of data, and they also have interfaces kind of into Disney stuff, so they can see some of the coding and things like that. So based on everything he's understood and what he's heard, this is what he this is where he's at with what the updates to Genie Plus are going to be when they go live in January.
Okay.
And so what he reported, he said, everything I've heard has been along the lines of, and we know from what Disney said, sorry, this is me interjecting, that they've heard feedback and they know people want to bring back some of the pre-planning element, basically the whole having to get up and book your first Genie Plus Lightning Lane at 7 a.m. every day is not a favorite thing that people have. So what he's heard is that there will be a 7-day advance booking window for on-site guests. There will be a 3-day advance window for off-site guests and annual pass holders. You'll be able to book 3 advance attraction Lightning Lane reservations when you book, 7 days out. All the parks will have tiers. So if you remember back to FastPass Plus, back in the day, Magic Kingdom did not have tiers, but the other ones did, where certain rides were considered tier 1, and you could pick one of those, and the other rides were tier 2. You could pick 2 of those. It sounds like they're bringing that back and including Magic Kingdom in that. Mm-hmm. He said, like with FastPass Plus, same thing, pick 1 top tier, 2 in the next tier. He said he doesn't know how same-day reservations will work. Like, will you be able to select another top-tier attraction after you use your first 3? We're kind of all assuming it's going to work like how FastPass Plus did. Once you used up your 3, you could then attempt to book a 4th and then a 5th and that sort of thing, and they could be tier 1 or tier 2 or whatever. He also mentioned that I've not heard of an upcharge for this advanced booking on top of the regular Genie Plus cost, but it is possible.
I don't think it's possible. I don't think Disney wants to charge more people for these type of things. Okay, so I want to kind of go through these line by line, and
yep.
I don't know how to interpret these. Len really didn't give any color to any of these lists, right? This is just like some things. So 7-day advanced booking window for on-site guests. I think that's fine. I don't need it to be longer. I'd like it to be longer just because I like things to do 60 days out, 30 days out. It allows me to help plan and kind of fill in some time. But as long as it's not inside a week, because then it starts interfering with my vacation prep, right?
Yep.
I don't want to be like, oh my God. To me, it's like almost as bad as the 7 a.m. dance that everybody has to do with their cell phones, right? So anything past 7 days is good. And then 3-day advance window for offsite guests and APs. I don't understand how this works, because if it's an offsite guest, Disney doesn't know you're coming unless you buy dated tickets. Right. And I'm assuming that's the only way that they're gonna say you have access.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's how it's done, because we know park reservations are going away. You will still have to buy dated tickets, so you will have a ticket that when you buy it, you say I'm buying a 4-day ticket, and the first day is January 12th or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. So even if you're off site, so the first day is January 12th, that means January 12th, 11th, 9th, you can wake up on the 9th and book your fast passes for the first day of your trip.
Okay, because then the next line, 3 advanced attraction Lightning Lane reservations. Now, here's the question. There's a bunch of questions behind this. So one, I'm assuming if we're buying Genie Plus beforehand, are we buying it for the whole trip? Are we forced to buy it for the whole trip, or do we get to select what days?
Yeah, so that wasn't in there. Whether it's going to be you have to buy it for your whole trip, or you could just buy it for individual days, like 3 days out, you buy it for that day, just like you would do now, day of. It also doesn't say, although people are assuming this would be the case for on-site guests, is it 7 days and you could do your whole trip, or just exactly 7 days out? Yeah.
I want to stay on this point for a moment, because Matt from Happily Everything Disney were talking about this in their show. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago that it came out? Mm-hmm. Or 10 days ago, was that Matt was supposing that you have to walk your reservations on a daily basis. So like if you're going starting on Monday is your first day of your first ticket's on a Monday, you've got one for Monday through Friday. 7 days previously on Monday, you have to book Mondays. Then you have to wake up Tuesday to book Tuesdays and so forth. I think that's horrific.
Yeah.
And there's almost no way Disney would force you to wake up at 7 a.m. 7 days in a row or 5 days in a row for your reservations for your vacation the following week. Right. I think people would be going nuts about that. So I don't think they would do that. So it's going back to the old fast pass thing where like the longer your vacation is, the more advantageous you have on your later dates for booking these things. Do you think that's fine? I know a lot of people say they hate it and et cetera, et cetera. It all has every solution has its problems and its pros and cons. I think this is just fine. I'm not.
There's no solution that's going to make everybody happy. But yeah, assuming it's 7 days for on-site guests for the duration of your trip or your on-site stay, I think that's fine. I think, I do know sometimes people take more than 7-day trips, so you'd still kind of be, I don't know if you could do your whole stay and stuff like that, but I think as long as it's a week out and you could do your whole trip, you're good. For the off-site guests, I almost feel this is worse than day of because now I'm assuming off-site guests won't be able to do their whole ticket package, right? It'll still be day by day.
No, I think if you have a dated ticket, you could book it like you.
Okay, so if you have a 4-day ticket, you could do all 4 days, just 3 days in advance instead of 7.
Right. So if you have 4-day ticket, 4 days Genie Plus, you just start selecting things on a Monday, then a Wednesday, then a Thursday, and then a Friday, assuming all that's a valid date range. And that's it. You've got your Genie Plus. I don't know how it's going to work because there's no reservations tied to it type of thing. I mean, they did it before. So
it's before where Genie Plus basically became your park reservation, right? Or Fast Pass Plus was your park reservation.
Exactly. So here's another thing. The way it's written here, because I know you copy pasted this directly from his post, is this 3 advanced attraction lightning lane reservations. I'm assuming, I think everybody's assuming that's per day.
Yes.
Correct?
I assume that he didn't clarify, but especially when he says like Fast Pass Plus, you will be able to select 1 from top tier and 2 from the next tier. So he keeps referencing back to Fast Pass Plus, which was per day. So
you've been active. You've been active on the WDW Magic forums like a lot this week. I'm impressed. You're like you doubled your post count in the last 5 days, and you were. And I kind of started, hopping on some of the conversation here. A lot of people think this is worse than normal Genie Plus. Matt's a huge fan of Genie Plus. It's functionality, right? So obviously everybody hates that it's 7 a.m. whatever, but I agree with him. Genie Plus works very well if you put the time and effort into actually making it work, right? You get on more rides because of it. And you've found the same way, so have I. But everything else that goes into it stinks. We've talked about that ad nauseum constantly. So my point is I don't think booking it 7 days out or having a tiered system is really going to be any more different for the most part than previously. Let's assume that the worst case is you have to book all 3, everything's tiered, and you can't make your 4th until the 3rd one is complete. Right? That's the old Fast Pass Plus rules. Every park, I'm assuming they're going to drop virtual queues for some of these things, right? Like basically, Tron's going to be a lightning. I hope they put Mine Train back in Lightning Lane instead of individual Lightning Lane for this. But every park, you've got Tron, you've got Remy's, and you've got Mickey Minnie's Runaway Railway and Falcon are all additions since Fast Pass Plus. So there's more rides in that upper echelon or upper tier of rides. So I think you actually are better off now than you were previously. So basically it's a wash at this point. I think it's the same thing no matter where you go. Now, here I brought up a point in my head, and I don't remember how this worked previously. And you asked me this on the forums. And maybe somebody could correct me, and I haven't looked it up. There might be I might just Google it and be like, oh, there's the answer. But I haven't done that because I just didn't. So before, everybody made their 3 fast passes, and the strategy was make them as early as you possibly can, so you get them out of the way, and you can just start chaining the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Did you have to make 3 selections? But like, let's say you made a Flight of Passage fast pass for Animal Kingdom. Could you click save and then go on, or did it force you to make the 2nd or 3rd because you couldn't submit them?
I thought you had to do all 3 to submit to the end.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think if you could only do the 1, like if this is, you can make up to 3.
Yep.
And you can only do 1 and then use that 1 and then start getting another tier 1, that would be better. But I don't think that's how it worked.
No.
Because I remember people making like dummy ones or junk ones or whatever. They would do it for whichever tier 2, even if they had no intention of using it, was as early as possible, even if they like overlapped or whatever.
Yep.
Just to try to get them out of the way. And they wouldn't even they would book it, the Pixar shorts and then not even go. But once it expired, then they could book another tier 1 or whatever once they used up all 3. I remember that being a strategy.
No, absolutely. I've done that myself. So do you think that they're going to go back to that? I mean, are they just going to be like, we're not going to invent anything anymore. We're just going to go back. It's basically paid Fast Pass Plus.
That's really what this sounds like. It's paid Fast Pass Plus, just only 7 days and 3 days instead of 60 and 30. and you have to worry about individual lightning lanes as well. To your point, there are some newer rides that kind of offset a little bit, but still something you have to.
Well, Animal Kingdom is going to be terrible. I mean, what is it going to be like? You can't book Flight of Passage because that's an individual lightning lane. And ladies and gentlemen, they are not getting rid of individual lightning lanes. That is a giant moneymaker for them. So what's like the upper tier, like Navi River Journey and Expedition Everest, and then like you get to pick two more, which is like Tough to Be a Bug and Dinosaur or something, or
I guess the Safari will be in there, right? And then
yep.
I forget the Adventure Outpost where you meet Mickey and Minnie. That might have been a tier 1. Or, there's a couple things that you can use it for, but you're really kind of like
you're done at that point, right? Just like what's the point of that? Magic Kingdom is fine. Hollywood Studios is going to be fine because there's enough that's going to make it just like last time, 4 years ago. I just hope they do a number of things here because I don't think I like getting rid of the 7 a.m. thing. You have your day kind of planned out. The issue is with inventory because the inventory is significantly lower than it was with FastPass Plus. I'm pretty sure that's the case. Maybe Len Tessa could post something and it's maybe now exactly like it was, but you're paying for this now, so it's different.
That's the big thing, yeah.
And again, if I can go and if I'm going to Hollywood Studios in the 7 days in advance, let's say Hollywood Studios is the first park I'm going to, and I'm not getting Slinky Dog because it's completely gone. I hope that they're thinking about that and slowly trickling in additional inventory every day leading up to that park open, so other people have an opportunity when their 7-day mark comes up that they can find the rides that
or even day of, right? Save some for day of so people can get them too.
I think you have to, because this is like you could go and go into the park and purchase it the day of, right? And go in. You cannot be like, oh, I'm spending $100 for my family, and then all the inventory is gone. I've got like Walt Disney Presents and Disney Junior Dance Party. Like right now, I'm like, I didn't pay $100 for access to these things. So what I suspect they're going to do, and the park ops they're not dummy people, right? Like I imagine the pre-booking stuff is going to be like, I just posted this. It's like, let's say there's 100 lightning lanes for each attraction, right? All the lightning lanes that you can book prior to the day of the park represent 40 lightning lanes. And then once the park opens, they dump the other 60 become available. So there's two pools. There's a pool for pre-booking and a pool for day of booking. So what that means is two nightmares could happen, Phil. We're going to have plenty of blog posts with this kind of strategy. So if these start trickling in, so the people that have bought it, pre-booked it, are, show up, you're like, there's nothing available. Why did I buy this? I can't get a refund for it now. They might trickle in additional things. So not because of that, people are going to figure out when they trickle those things. It's 12:07 a.m. every single day. There's going to be posts like grab whatever you can your day of, and then every day at 12:07, get your alarm clock ready and go and pound that app and try to find the trickles, right?
Just switch them,
Or then, but constantly get everything, because then the day of, maybe the 60% drops at 7 a.m. And here you go. You have to be at 7 a.m. to start modifying those things at the right times. Because let's say you booked, I don't know, Slinky Dog Tier 1, Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular Tier 2, and whatever, and all of a sudden, let's say you couldn't get Tower of Terror, you want it. Can you drop Indiana Jones the day of at 7 a.m. and get a Tower of Terror in there? Can you modify, change? Can you drop and like Genie Plus? Like, can I, at the day of, can I drop 2 of those 3 and then just start booking immediately at 7 a.m. or 2 hours after park opens? That sounds like a nightmare to me, right? Like,
well, and I think that just goes. Obviously, we'll have to figure out how they're going to do it, and we'll see it. But it does kind of show like any change they make has this ripple effect of like, because everyone's going to try to maximize, especially now that there's a cost. Because I know in the past when it was included, obviously a lot of us were kind of crazy and did all the things to get it. But I know a lot of my other friends were like, we get up, when day of when it's available, or maybe not even then, we'll book a couple things and we get there, we use them, no big whoop, because it was included. They didn't, but now if you're making the choice to spend, like you said, $100 for your family or whatever,
value, right?
You want to get value out of that. And like you said, if at the end of the day, I got on Slinky Dog, Indiana Jones, and Toy Story Mania, I'm not going to feel like I got $100 worth of value out of that, right?
Exactly.
So I don't know. I think that's just whenever you start attaching a concrete dollar amount to it, expectations go up. And I know people complained about the 7 a.m. thing. I don't know why they didn't just say, okay, 7 days ahead, you can make your first one each day. That's
all you got to do, right?
I don't know why they're going back to 3 and having the tiers and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know if they were just getting a lot of feedback from people that they really liked the 3 from FastPass. I don't know if it's just because they already have it coded and they could just flip a switch, or I don't know what it is.
Well, not only that, I mean, like, you got to think, people are like, I just want FastPass to come back. I just want FastPass to come back. That's what they're used to. So no one's like asking, other than us Disney nerds here on podcasts on the weekend nights, asking for like really convoluted or different, engineered things.
Yeah.
I think simplistically, the main complaint is I have to wake up at 7 a.m. and do this. All right.
And I didn't have to do that with FastPass Plus.
Right. I think you distill it down to that. So that means at 7 days, you get to pick your first one every single day, and you cannot pick your second one until 2 hours after park opens, or you use it.
Yeah.
Right. The same rules apply. You don't have to change anything. You've been training people how to use Genie Plus for a year and a half now, almost 2 years. Keep it going. Don't revert the whole system. Just say, okay, well, now you can book early, and everybody's happy. And anybody that's spent money on this over the last couple of years, or they're still familiar with it, they still know what they can expect for their money from the system. It just got a little bit easier for the first thing. If they immediately start doing all this other nonsense, it's going to be a world of pain. And I do not look forward to hearing everybody complain about it when it comes up and all this other type of stuff. So, anyway, that's our Genie Plus. Like, we're not going to go, and maybe we already did this already. I was like, we're not going to armchair Imagineer this thing, a bit of different possibilities, because we've done that a million times over the last 2 years. But it's interesting. We should be able to know what these changes are soon. It's almost 2024, right? We're 2 months away. People's trips are going to be planning. Do you think, unless this is my last thing before we move on, do you think we find out about this in 2023, or is this something that's coming like July of 2024? We don't know about it until the spring. What the changes are.
That's interesting, because in my head, it was always going to be like the same time park reservations go away. And so, the dining plan comes back January 9th. I kind of figured this was going to roll out the same time, like kind of that's the start of the new things. So that's my expectation. The fact that, this is kind of getting out there already, I think we're going to hear before the end of the year how it's going to work. But
I think so too. We're almost at the 16-day mark for that January 9th date when the reservations go away. It's January 9th, right?
January 9th, yep.
Or 8th, 9th. So I don't think they're going to change it for that, unless we just get like a Friday drop at some point. And just like, here you go. So that should be interesting. A couple of things, just because like every single week we are a trip planning podcast. So I am actively planning a trip. So I'm going to give everybody an update. So I finally, this is a 2-week update here. So I finally bought the party tickets, because I started panicking when I started seeing some of these dates sell out. So I'm like, I'm buying them. Let's go. So I did that. I bought, did we talk about 2 weeks ago that I bought actual park tickets from Boardwalk Ticketing?
Yes. Yeah, we mentioned that last update. Yep.
I'm not going to show this on screen because I don't know if my numbers are showing, but like, I got all my tickets, they're registered, but then they send you the cards in the mail. So I actually have physical tickets. I've never gotten that before. I thought that was kind of cool. It's better than Disney's little leaflet that they sent me about ADRs about a week later than whatever. So that was kind of neat getting them for that. So again, these are like magic bands. You can walk up and you can use these like a ticket at the gate. So I thought that's really nice. It's kind of like a nice little your trip's coming up. So I like that. So all my ADRs were planned. I mentioned that we got something for T-Rex restaurant. And if you like the T-Rex restaurant, the Rainforest Cafe, and you can't get an ADR, you're worried about it busy, go drop $25. I think it's $25 for the Landry card, club card. Yeah. It costs you $25 a year, but they send you a $25 gift card to use. So it's basically free if you plan on using it. And you can you get priority seating. So you show up, there's a line, you can flash your card, and they'll probably seat you within 20 minutes or so. They're usually pretty good about that. So that's a tip. So we got that. Then I booked Liberty Tree Tavern. I could not get a Skipper Canteen reservation for my Magic Kingdom Day for a party of 5, even though party of 4, like I said 2 weeks ago, was open all over the place. So I got Liberty Tree Tavern. I've never done it before. I wanted to do it. My wife, who's a vegetarian, was like, okay, we can do it. I can find something to eat. So I was getting kind of excited. We got a 4:40 dinner reservation. And then today, not just 4 hours ago, I got Skipper Canteen for $12.50. So I immediately booked that. I really don't want to do that for lunch because I don't want to do like that kind of sit down meal in the middle of the day.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping I can kind of walk that up at some point during the trip. So I got to make that selection. So my question to you, Phil, is if you got these two things, let's say I can't change them, which one are you picking?
So I would say we've done Liberty Tree Tavern. We really enjoyed it.
Mhm.
It's kind of like comfort food. It's American kind of food. And I have to say one thing, we weren't there during the holidays, but you're going to be there during the holidays. I believe, I don't know if they did it last year, but usually in the past they decorate the restaurant for the holidays, and the
Okay.
food kind of makes me think of a holiday dinner
Yeah,
type thing.
it's roast and
Yeah. And the
greens
dessert there is really good. So I would be, if I was you, I wouldn't be like upset if that's the end result is that you keep that dinner. I think you'll enjoy that meal, especially that time of year and stuff like that. So if you're like, I'd rather not do Skipper's lunch, I would do Liberty Tavern. Now, if you're able to get the Skipper's dinner and that's what your family wants to do, then that's great. But I think you'd be fine with Liberty Tree Tavern.
Yeah, I'm kind of low key with you. I'm like, I've never done it before. I kind of want to do something different, even though we love Skippers, and I always kind of talk about it. Okay, so I also bought a Magic Band Plus for me and my wife this weekend. Last time we went with just the standard Magic Bands. So I'm looking forward to pushing my kids out of the way so I can get to the Golden Statue first. I did get the Disney Dad one. I thought that was really cool. It has a nice cool Mickey on it. And here's another thing. So I was forced to spend $70 last night, and it's all my mother's fault. It was my birthday recently, and she bought me a present. And one of the things I wanted to do is, if you remember me talking about it, I like making family videos at Disney, where I just take out my phone, I follow the kids, and I stitch like 100 videos together to make a fun family type of thing. And my daughter's a creative type. She likes doing videotaping. She's got CapCut on her thing, and her girlfriends kind of make funny videos and stuff like that. They enjoy that. So like, oh, I'll buy you a GoPro and you can help film the vacation with me. She's super excited. And then my mother bought me a GoPro. Well, not actually GoPro, a less expensive, not $400 camera.
Right.
Because we're just going to Disney World with it. We're not riding down the side of a mountain. But before we bought this, I had bought one myself about a week and a half ago because I saw a cheap one on sale on Amazon for like $38. I'm like, perfect. If it gets lost or broken, not a big deal. So now all of a sudden I have two. I opened up this gift earlier. Was it yesterday? And I'm like, oh, I've got two. So my other daughter, my younger daughter, who's 5, almost 6, she's like, oh, I get to have one too now. There's two. And I'm like, oh no.
Oh no.
I have 3 kids now. So late last night I went on the internet and I bought another GoPro kind of camera. So now all 3 of my kids will have 3 little tiny cameras taking pictures. And this is going to be an utter disaster because even if I don't get Genie Plus, I am now going to be project managing 3 children taking videos all day, and it's going to drive me nuts. But I think it might be good if I can get them to kind of take it easy with it, not constantly be running around with it. So we got to set some guidelines on it. But
maybe take turns or something like that.
I'm gonna give my daughter. She's gonna be able to have it herself the whole time because she has her little mini backpack type of thing. Don't know what my son's gonna do. My daughter, I don't want her to have it because she'll just put it down somewhere and lose it. But at least we'll have that. And I also bought a body harness that I'm going to put on my daughter, put the GoPro like right in the middle and kind of do some action shots from like the different rides. So I'm looking forward to that because we weren't able to do that. I was not going to hold up my very expensive phone on a ride and kind of do that type of thing. So I'm looking forward to that. And the last thing on Trip Report is every single year we do a room request through Touring Plans. If you ever use Touring Plans, you can go and select the room based on your selection, and you click a button, and they send a message to the hotel, I don't know, roughly like 2 to 4 weeks prior to the trip saying, you're requesting this room or a similar room to it. So at Caribbean Beach, I've always got the building I wanted, which is ultimately the most important thing. I've been asking for a first floor room for about 3 trips now. I hope third time's the charm because I really want a first floor room. And we have a water or pool view. And if you're on at Jamaica at CBR, the main pathway along the river, the water, there's a series of buildings, and there's one that outlooks that water. So I requested one of those. I don't know if I'm going to get it, but here's to hoping. So third time the charm, we'll find out. But if I don't get that, I really want a first floor room. I'm sick and tired of going up and down the steps constantly. So
Yeah, no, I hear you. I was thinking of
We'll
you
see.
today, though. I saw WDWNT just posted that they redid the rooms at Caribbean Beach.
They did.
They just updated, like, they did a minor. They got rid of the carpets. It's like so now it's like the fake wood floors. They got the new beds that are raised up so you can fit stuff underneath it. They redid like the curtains are like the ones that they put in the Little Mermaid rooms. They painted the rooms. So it's like kind of like not a major overhaul, but they redid the rooms a little bit.
I'm looking forward to that because that's my main complaint of CBR is like the all this stuff gets like shoved into a corner somewhere.
Yeah.
Because the rooms at all the other monitors are absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. It looks a lot like what the style of the other rooms is, but still with obviously the Caribbean touches to it and stuff like that. So
I'm gonna have to check that. I want to go to the website now and check it out, but I'm not gonna sit here where you stare at me looking at a website for like.
Well, I just gave you a homework assignment.
There you go. Perfect. All right, we're gonna play a game, Phil.
Okay.
And this game is something I just came up with because why not? And I call it top backup plans when things go wrong. So I'm going to give you a couple different scenarios. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I got 9 or 10 of them. Basically what happens, I'm going to give you a scenario and you're going to be trying to do a thing and that thing goes wrong or the thing is unavailable. And you have to make a choice on the fly on how to plan your vacation next, right? So some of these are going to be day of, some of these are going to be like the 60-day ADR mark.
Okay.
So the first one, we're going to use the template for your last vacation, right? You got 4 park days, a party day, and like a resort off day type of thing.
Okay.
Right. Just to kind of give you an idea of what you got to plan for. So at the 60-day mark, and some of these I'm modeling from your actual vacation a little bit. At the 60-day mark, you wanted to book dinner or meal at Animal Kingdom Lodge, Sanajika, or something else like that, but couldn't get the reservations, and you were planning on booking it the day you went to the park, right? You were going to leave the park early, go over to the resort for dinner, and then head back to your home resort or whatever. What do you do on your 60-day mark when you couldn't get anything? What's your backup plan?
So my backup plan, I guess my initial thought is I say, oh, well, I'm saving the money and not having a table service meal that day. And we're going to eat at, Satuli Canteen or something like that. And then we might get through the park a little quicker and have more resort time back at our resort. It's kind of what I would think.
So you're probably thinking, and this is what I would do. It's like, okay, well, I can't eat there tonight. I'll use that money to do a sit-down meal somewhere else. And I'll start investigating other locations and other places to go. Okay, fair enough. Okay, so this is maybe a question that's won't be valid by the next time you come around anyway, because it's a lightning question. It's 7 a.m. and you can't get the Jungle Cruise Lightning Lane from the Magic Kingdom, or it was a poor time. Let's say you couldn't get it until, we'll do 2 scenarios. You couldn't get it until 6 p.m. because it went fast, or you couldn't get it at all. What are your 2 backup plans for that?
Yeah, it'd probably be the same as that I would book something else. I wouldn't want to book my first one at 6 p.m.
What are you booking?
No
What are you booking? What are you going for? Like, what are you checking next, right? You had Star Jungle Cruise and you muddled around. You couldn't get it. And by the time, maybe it's been 5 or 10 seconds. What are you gunning for?
I would go to Space Mountain or Big Thunder Mountain.
Okay.
Would be the 2 I would go for. And then what I would do is, go ahead. Sorry.
Would you take Jungle Cruise at a later date and just hope that you can walk it back with modifications?
At a later time? Probably not. I wouldn't want to.
You don't
risk that. I'd rather get something else earlier in the day that I know I can work around.
Okay.
And then what I would look to do is not obviously rope drop. The early entry at Magic Kingdom is only Fantasyland and Tomorrowland, but I would try to time it right so that for like when the rest of the park opens, we could like second rope drop or whatever Jungle Cruise to try to get there early.
Yep.
Otherwise, we're just watching wait times and hoping that at some point it drops under a half an hour or something, and then we run over.
Yep. 100%. Okay, so backup hotels, right?
Okay.
Let's say you've got you wanted to try Riverside, and you couldn't get the dates that you wanted. Do you have a backup hotel? Do you wait for different dates? What are you doing? Let's say, again, it's a summertime vacation, right? It's full. Do you immediately try to book another moderate, or do you try to start investigating other date ranges?
Yeah, my first thought is if I had flexibility in the dates we were going, is I would play around with dates a little bit and say like, oh, is it just these specific days, or is it like the whole month is booked up or whatever? If I could just shift it by a couple days and it could work and we could do that, then we would do that. I would say though, sometimes when we go down, we're hindered more by the airlines, like kind of when the flights are the cheapest.
Come first. Yep.
So assuming we couldn't just shift it by a day or two, I probably would just, what I would wind up doing is just go to Caribbean Beach or something like that. If it was something that we really like, were heck bent on, like we have to stay at this resort, or it's like for one of my kids' birthdays and it like they always wanted to stay at some hotel or something, I might look into doing a split stay then and say like, could I get it? If I can't get it for the whole trip, could I get it for like the first 2 or 3 days or something, and then shift to another resort?
So you're more of a you're more of like, I want to stay at this hotel, let me find dates that work, versus I don't really care what hotel, let me just see if there's another one available for those given dates.
No, I'd say in most situations, I would probably just pick a different moderate resort unless there was something where there was a specific reason, and then I would maybe try to do a split stay.
Yep, I'm kind of the same way. Like, I don't care what hotel I stay at unless like there's a really good deal for like, let's say there was like a discount just for CBR for like the month.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's one of the reasons we stayed at Port Orleans Riverside was they had the 30% off, and you don't normally see it for there. So we were kind of like, there were sort of specific reasons we wanted to stay there. Now, if it wasn't available and we could do the whole thing for basically the same price or only a little more at Caribbean Beach, we'd probably do that. But, I don't know, maybe if it was so much cheaper than the other options, maybe we would look into a split stay or something.
100%. Okay, I'm going to try to put a dagger through your heart with this next one, Phil. It says, you're now at the Magic Kingdom, and you're going for your annual or traditional Dole Whip, and the machines are down when you go in. They're not looking like they're coming up. You cannot get your Dole Whip, and you can't cheat by going to the.
I was going to ask, is it up at Citrus Swirl or?
Yeah, it's closed. It's closed.
There's no Dole Whip or anything.
Not in the Magic Kingdom.
I don't know. I think
Are you leaving the Magic Kingdom to go to the Polynesian to get one?
I don't think we would. I mean,
okay.
I mean, unless it was
out there to you.
I would say if this was like early and we didn't really have lunch plans and we're like, well, maybe that could factor in. Why don't we go eat at the Polynesian lunch and then we could get a Dole Whip or something? Like maybe it factors into like other decisions. I don't think if we had the whole day mapped out, I don't think we would like totally toss out plans just so we could go to the Polynesian for.
Well, I mean, like it's your Magic Kingdom day.
Yeah.
You have, I don't know. I don't really care what lightning lanes, and you don't have an individual lightning lane or a Tron VQ for that. Do you leave on the fly to the Polynesian? Is Dole Whip's that important to you? Your family will be listening to this. I'm sending them clips of this just so they can hold your feet.
I don't think we would. I honestly don't think we would if it was just for. I mean, I think we would be bummed, and I think that would just be like, well, that was the story for this trip. We couldn't get it because it was broken. We would figure out something else to do, get some treats somewhere else. I don't think we would leave. Like I said, maybe if we had flexibility anyway and we didn't know what we want to do, maybe that's another factor to go to the Polynesian. But I don't think we would leave just for that.
So is it more Dole Whips in the Magic Kingdom rather than just Dole Whips in general?
I think so. I think it is Dole Whips
That's
in the Magic Kingdom.
Right?
And I think that's kind of one of our meals and that sort of it. So I think, yeah.
Okay, so you plan on rope dropping Remy's, but as you make it to the ride, the line is all the way out to the bridge. So you're going right past internet. This happened to me, our last trip with our kids in last December. We come through the International Gateway. Rope drop happened 5 minutes ago, and as you come off the bridge and you make a right to go towards Remy, the line was snaked all over the place.
Yeah.
What do you do?
See, I'm bad about that because we've had some bad luck where like, oh well, like we were wanting to go to Test Track first because that was one of my oldest like. One of her must-dos, and it was down. So then we're like, okay, I guess we'll pivot. And we like went to Frozen, but by the time we got to Frozen, everybody who didn't first make a stop at Test Track was already there. And it was long. So that would be my worry, because my first thought was like, we'll pivot and go to Frozen. But by the time you get there, that might be really long. I guess it depends how early we saw the line. Like if it was really snake back and we could see that before we like got over the bridge and stuff like that, maybe we'd audible and go to frozen. Otherwise,
You're just sucking it up.
we're probably just sucking it up. And if it's really long, maybe somebody goes and tries to get snacks at the Hells or something like that.
Yep.
I would just be worried that second guessing and going somewhere else, and then we're like have a longer walk and then just as long of a line when we get there anyway. So it's like, okay, this was the plan. Early entry, there's no Genie plus lightning lane. Even if it's long, it should move.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just do it. Like
that's the exact decision process that went in my head when I saw this line. I'm like, ugh, it was like an hour long line. It was completely dreadful. But I don't think I'm in Paris already. I'm not like literally. I think what happened is they walked back the crowds from the front of the park all the way to the back prior to rope dropping officially going off. And I'm like, that is cheating. Like I should have an advantage coming in through International Gateway to get to Remy's at rope drop. Right?
Yeah. So if I was in that spot and I literally saw them like moving all those people, then maybe I'd be like, all right, change of plans. But if I was over the bridge of France and kind of like in line, it's like, I would just be afraid that if I got out of line, I'd make the wrong call and it'd be worse than just staying.
Yep. I did the same exact thing. All right. Next one is, and this is basically your vacation. You booked dinner at Artist Point for your arrival day, but the day before you leave for vacation, so maybe it was 2 days prior or whatever it might be, it's announced that it's closed for unknown reasons. And I don't know what the unknown reasons are. I'm just forcing you to make a decision at this point. What do you do?
So it'll be closed for the whole vacation or just that day?
That
night. So we almost thought about that too, because we had like another off night or like maybe our Animal Kingdom day or something like that. Where if we couldn't get it for our first day, we try to get a reservation for that. So that's probably my first thought was if we have another evening, like our Animal Kingdom day, I would try to book it for that. And then for our arrival day, if assuming I was going to rebook it, then I probably don't want to pay for another table service. So I'd probably do what we either just say, okay, we're spending time at the resort, or our other common thing to do on arrival day is we'll go eat like quick service at the Polynesian and then watch the fireworks from the beach. So we probably pivot to that.
You're not booking another sit down. You're probably doing you're falling back to some older traditions.
Yeah. Assuming if we could still do Artist Point a different night. If it was closed our whole stay.
Let's say close your whole stay now. Let's close scenario.
Yeah, then we'd probably try to find a different table service to do that night, whether we do.
Not that it matters. I'm just curious. Like, just decision. Do you go and try to find another sit down meal? I don't think we.
I think if it was going to be closed the whole trip and like so that's out, then I think we might try to do another sit. And maybe it's just at the Polynesian and then we watch on the beach or something like that. But we'd probably fall back on some older traditions.
I've got one more because we're about to hit the hour mark and I want to get to the DVC engagement question. You have an off day on your trip. You plan on going to the pool and having a good day. Let's say you're at CBR and you wanted to go to the pool, sit at the Banana Cabana and have a good time for a couple hours. But the pool is closed that day for quote unquote cleaning. Who knows what happens, but they had to close down the pool for the day. What do you do? And you were planning on being there for, let's say, just for the sake of argument, 11 o'clock to 4 o'clock.
Yep. Oof.
Because there's two possibilities here, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if we could switch our park days, I'd try to do that.
Ooh, really?
If there was a day that didn't have too many ADRs and too many pre-booking things, I would contemplate.
Oh no! Let me put another caveat. You don't know about this until like you wake up. Like something happened. Like there was
when we get there at 11 o'clock and it's closed.
Yeah, it's
okay.
closed. Right?
Okay.
You know, a kid pooped in the pool or something, right?
Okay.
It's down for a while. You got to make plans on the fly. What are you doing?
Probably would go back to the room to rest for a little bit.
Because that arduous process of,
I guess I don't know. Or I don't know. Maybe still get some drinks at Banana Cabana, or maybe we go over to Disney Springs or something. We pivot and try to like, okay, well maybe we'll resort hop or something like that. I don't know. That's a tough one because. But
here's my main thing. You didn't bring this up because we've done this, but not because of the pool breaking. We just wanted to break. We went to one of the other pools. Would you be able to go to another pool and still relax?
One of the
Like
quiet
small
pools, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's a good thought. We could do that. I couldn't spend 5 hours there though. If it's,
No, absolutely.
so yeah, so maybe that's what we do. We go back to the room and just say, okay, let's head back to where we are, take a quick dip in like kind of the small pool that's near our room. Everyone kind of gets wet and kind of has a little bit of fun. And then we see,
You have an
do we have
hour or
more?
two of recuperation.
Yeah, kind of like
right?
to like regroup. Yeah, that's a good idea.
So what we did our last trip, I don't remember what day this was. This must have been a day. Oh goodness, it might have been a Hollywood Studios day where we left early. We went back to swim, but we went to the quiet pool at CBR and did laundry, like cleaned a bunch of stuff. And I got 2 pizzas from the thing, and we just kind of had some pizza dinner, swim time, and then like I think we either went in to go see Fantasmic at the end of the day. I think that's what it was. We just had stacked like all the rides for that evening, for the morning, and I think that's what we did. And it wasn't a bad thing. It wasn't bad at all. Okay, I think your answers were actually very good. So let's go into the DBC engagement from 2 weeks ago. And the question was, what are the top 3 things that you have to do every Walt Disney World trip, regardless of the length of stay or who you go with? Right. And I think we're going to do the express version of this because we're up against the clock. In the question, my top 3 are, and we've talked about this before, is I have pictures of all my kids facing the castle, taken from the vantage point of the Crystal Palace. It's like nice little greenery there, and it's the back of them. And I have a couple pictures. You can see them getting taller and taller, and then another kid got added in there when we had a 3rd kid type of thing. So we have really cool pictures with that. The second one is I always have to go on Pirates of the Caribbean. I don't really care. We always have to go. It's my favorite ride. And we always have to make family shirts. And now that I'm thinking about it, I need to get on that process and start making them. Now that I'm thinking about it, but those are the 3 things that we have to go regardless. When me and my wife went down as a adult trip, we had a pair of shirts for every single day. So we had a lot of fun with that. And what are your top 3? And I know we already talked about one of them.
Yeah. So one of them is we always get Dole Whips as a family. We kind of, we don't really like a lot of the food options in Magic Kingdom. So that almost invariably becomes like kind of one of the meals or one of our larger snacks. So that's definitely become a tradition. We always ride the People Mover and Living with the Land. Those are the rides, probably the ones that we ride most often. They'll get more than one ride per trip.
Okay.
And the last one I put in there is we have to ride the monorail at some point, because we've done that a couple of times where there wasn't really a need for us to ride the monorail, but we still like, my son loves it. So we'll like leave Epcot, do like the Epcot loop to Magic Kingdom and back, or to the TTC and back or something like that. Something about the monorail. Part of it's definitely my son and his connection to it.
Well, he loves it.
But just also it just feels very Disney, and like, so I think we always fit in a monorail ride, whether it's needed or not. So those are my 3 things.
And we've talked about them quite a bit. We had a lot of people answer this one. I'm just going to do some highlights. Mama 6 agrees with your People Mover. She always has to do that. She cheated and put a picture in front of the castle. I think that's what everybody does, so that doesn't count.
I thought about that too. I was like, oh, I got to get a picture of the castle and a picture of Spaceship Earth. I'm like, that's kind of boring. Like everybody does that, right?
Everybody does that. Ryan W. had a good one. Eat at Topolino's, which is awesome because that must be a very new tradition because it's only been around for about 4 years, which is really cool. I want to make this one of mine, and hopefully maybe it is. It's TL Madden mentioned that he has to try a new restaurant, whether it's quick service or table service. I really like that one, and I find that in my planning, and I think you do this too a little bit, Phil, is like you get stuck in a rut. You're doing the planning. You want to plan the perfect vacation. Nostalgia is biting you in the butt. You're like, I got to do this. I got to do this. This is what made a perfect vacation that one time back 4 years ago. So we got to eat here. And sometimes you fail to kind of do something different.
Yep.
And my wife is forcing us to do different things this trip. So I like trying a new restaurant. I like this one. What were you going to say? You were going to say something.
I think I know a lot of people struggle with that balance of how do we fit in the new places we want to try, but also have the restaurants that are nostalgic for us, because the kids aren't going to be, they're growing older, and it's going to be the same. We want to take advantage of, whether it's, Garden Grill or whatever, something that you've done as a family, you want to do that every time. And then they're like, oh, but if I do that, I can't try this new one that's at that park and stuff like that. So I think a lot of people struggle with that too, but I like the idea. I think we try to do that too, is at least one new restaurant we haven't done in the past.
Yep. No, I'm with you on that one. And for the sake of time, we're going to go to this week's DBC engagement question. and that is, are you planning on seeing the Marvels or Wish in theaters? I think Wish comes out in a couple weeks. And Marvels?
Marvels is sooner. Marvels comes out on the 10th.
Yep.
And Wish comes out on the 22nd, although they announced, and maybe we'll talk about this a little more next week, doing some interesting marketing that they're going to have an early release, like one showing on the 18th, I think it is, at like 750 theaters around the country. So they're going to try to just one day, one showing. And we
buzz, right?
Yeah, we actually got tickets for that.
Oh,
so
very cool.
We're pretty excited for that. So, yep, should be exciting. So.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm kind of interested in seeing the pulse, like how many people are going to the movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you had an interesting stat. I was going through this and we were talking about how Disney movies have failed, blah, 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 blah. And you posted like the top 10 grossing films of 2023, and like 3 or 4 of them were
four of them were Disney movies, and one of the fifth was the Spider-Man one, like Into the Spider-Verse, which is, I mean, Spider-Man's kind of a Disney character, right? So you can almost say half of them have a connection to Disney.
Yeah, and I found that interesting. But what you brought up was that movies are still being made. Disney movies are still being successful in context with other movies.
Right.
It's just people's movie-going habits have altered significantly in the last 5 years.
There were basically 3 mega movies that just captured the imagination, became a thing to do to see them. It was, Barbie, Oppenheimer, and the Super Mario Brothers movies.
Yep.
Those were the only ones. 2 of those made $1 billion. Oppenheimer's almost there, but that's it. Like in the past, it felt like Disney was having a couple $1 billion movies on its own. It's not the same unless you become that thing. You're just, you're not going to do as well as in the past. It's just going to the movies has dried up a little bit. There were a lot of other bombs, even that Mission Impossible didn't do that well, and some other ones. So it's just interesting, and kind of where do we go from here? Maybe Disney says, well, between Disney Plus and other co-marketing things, it's still fine, but I don't know. It's interesting time for movies in general.
And the reason why I bring this up is because Wish is being pushed quite differently than a lot of the other movies in the last couple of years. It feels like it's old Disney advertising again, right? They're creating an event, and I've never seen this before where they do like a 1 week early, but like one showing, one time. Are they doing it? Is it the showing all at the same time? It's like 7:00 and it's
I forget what time it is. It's like 4:00 or something like that. I don't know if it's the same, if they're contemplating time zones, but I know every theater around us, like I checked a couple theaters, it was the same time. It was like 4 p.m. I think.
It'd be interesting if it's like 4 p.m. on the East Coast, 1 p.m. on the West Coast. Everybody sees it at once just for this one day. So it's just a giant like Twitter bomb or social media bomb type of thing. I think that would be kind of interesting. So let us know if this is a movie that's going to basically capture your family's interest. Like you have to go. I think I'm answering earlier. I think Wish is something that we're actually going to go see because we haven't seen a movie as a family in ever, I don't think, with my youngest daughter, who's 5, right? Because there hasn't been much that we can send her, and with the pandemic, it's been a little.
Oh, sure.
Is what it is. All right, that's a wrap. I want to thank everybody for listening. Thank you for your patience last week for not having a show. Please don't delete us from your subscription pages, but the show will be out as usual. I don't know why I'm telling you this because this is not a live show. Of course it's out as usual because we're doing that. That being said, thank you for listening and watching, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Take care, everybody.